Welcome back to The Outright Effect, a podcast in which unique perspectives challenge us to be better versions of ourselves. We're two ambitious women who talk about how we like to stretch our creativity and work on self-growth to become better people. I'm Shelly.
And I'm Tempsy.
And today we're going to be doing a little bit of reflection on a previous episode where we talked about our skincare routines. So if you listen to that episode and maybe you're following us along on Instagram, we featured some Instagram stories where I recommended a few products to Tempsy. She went out and bought them. Or bought a few things. I gave her a couple of options for, a variety of different things. She went out and bought some of those items, and we kind of want to go through how that went for her today. So kind of backing up and telling a little bit of that story. I mean, I would, of course, recommend you listen to that episode to get the full details. But long story short, I have been, pretty into skincare for quite a bit of time. One would say I spend quite a bit of money on it. Tempsy may have a different opinion on how she wants to take her approach on skincare, which is totally fine. I think we all have our own preferences. But when she and I were talking about it, it sounded like part of the maybe barrier she was experiencing was that, and truly there is an oversaturation of products out there in the market that one could purchase. So we thought it would be fun if I, based on what I know of her and, things that she's mentioned to me in the past about her skin, I went online and looked at things that I thought she would like. And I gave her some recommendations. So why don't you tell us about maybe let's start off with what did you pick up?
Yeah. Well, I actually want to go a little further back where you had
Okay.
recommended a makeup remover, like an oil-based makeup remover. And
Mm-hmm.
this is a significant story because it kind of leads into the whole financial aspect of investing in skincare. So previously, I felt like the makeup was just not coming off of my face thoroughly enough, which is the cleanser. And Shelly recommended an oil-based makeup remover. It was by Clinique, and it was 30 something dollars, would you say?
Probably around there. Yeah.
Okay, and it was a decent size, and I can't remember the ounces, I apologize, but I went through it and it was great. It worked really well. My test was using one of those treatment pads, like a Neutrogena treatment pad, to see if anything came off after the fact, and it didn't. It was great. I was super stoked about it, and I ran out of it, and I forgot to reorder it, and then I started talking to Shelly again the next episode or something, and realized I was out and needed to buy a new one. And I said, hey, I found this Neutrogena one. It's just an oil-based makeup remover. Do you think this would be okay? Because it's $10 instead of like 30 something that the Clinique one was. And she said, hey, just try it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, then you can go back to the other one. So I bought it. And I the first day I used it, I realized, oh, I should have just stuck with the Clinique. And it's not terrible. It's a fine product. It does what it needs to do. But the thing that kind of bothers me about skincare across the board is if I get a product and I can't get it off my face, it drives me bonkers. And so in this case, it was $10, but it was a smaller version. So it's like half the number of ounces as the Clinique one. But I put the same amount on my face that I would have used with the Clinique, and my hands were just slipping off my face. So I was just getting like, okay, I don't know if I made the right decision here. So the next time I used it, I used a lot less. So you don't need as much in general. And my hands were still slipping off my face. So I just, instead of getting it all off my face before I cleansed my face, I just had to cleanse my face. That's the only way I could get it off completely. Now it does work, that's fine, but I think I will invest in the Clinique version because I don't like the fact that I can't get all of it off of my face before I cleanse. I think that's the whole point, is to get the makeup off. There's makeup underneath the oil makeup remover,
Right.
and then I have to put cleanser on top of that. Is it really doing the job? I'm not.
Right.
So yeah.
Basically what you're saying is that the one that you bought that might have been a little bit cheaper just didn't perform in the way that you would want a product like that to perform.
Correct.
And I think that's fair. I've had my fair share of those types of experiences, and I think it's just kind of like you got to try and see what happens, right? But I mean, I mean, like you said, you still can finish it up. It's not,
Yeah.
not doing what it's supposed to do. It's just that the process that you're going through is not maybe like your ideal process, or it's kind of annoying. So,
Exactly. And that
yeah.
kind of leads me into the discussion of investing a little bit more money, if you have it, into skincare. And so when Shelly provided the recommendation she provided after having a good discussion around what, my skin is like and what her thoughts were, she had asked me some great questions, and that really provided her the insight she needed to recommend what she thought would work. And when I saw the prices, I was like, oh, these are a little bit more than what I would normally spend, right? And so, but I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it and see what happens. This is an experiment, and I'm gonna invest in my future beauty and youth. So
MC, I think you should give a more accurate like reaction to your prices. Wasn't like, oh, this is more than I would spend. It was just kind of like, whoa, why is it expensive?
yeah. Okay, so perspective, normally I think we spend, because my husband and I use the same cleanser, and so I think total we spend maybe $10 on a cleanser and a scrub that I shouldn't be using anymore, and that lasts us over a month. And so that's pretty much what I spend on skincare. You know what I mean? So when I saw the price, like the total in my cart was $107, and that wasn't even including skincare. So yeah, needless to say, I was a little bit shocked. So I went through this thought process in my mind of like, you know what? This is an investment. I'm going to be beautiful by the end of this. I'm going to be so young. This is like the youth serum. No, just kidding. I didn't think all that, but I was just like, this is just an experiment. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it feels, and I'm going to be consistent with it. So I had some, hesitation, but I worked through it and I got the products. And it was interesting when I opened the box, and some of you who have seen it on Instagram stories, you saw everything that I got. But I was very surprised. I didn't express this on the Instagram stories, but I was very surprised to see the sizes, because when I was putting each of the items in my cart, because you gave me some items like the moisturizer, there were two different options, right?
Right. Yep.
Same thing for the mask. So I was comparing them, and I was like, okay, this one has this many likes or like positive reviews, and this one is this expensive. And I was like, okay, well, this one looks a little bigger. And I looked at the ounces, but I didn't register in my mind what that many ounces looks like. I just compared the number of ounces in each moisturizer, and I picked the one that had more ounces and was because they were both like relatively the same price. And when I got it, I was like, all of these things are tiny. They looked so big when I looked at the picture, and I just didn't register the ounces. I didn't even think about it. And I was pretty shocked. I'm not gonna lie. But what I will say is that every single item, and I'll go through them and kind of, share my experience so far. It hasn't been so long that I've seen like a huge difference. But I have seen incremental difference since I got it.
So let's start off with the moisturizer. I think I recommended two to you. One was an Origins. I wish I saved this on my phone. I didn't save it, unfortunately. But one was an Origins ginseng gel moisturizer, and I don't remember what the other one was, but I know it was also a gel moisturizer. And the reason why I suggested that to you is because you have previously told me that your skin's a little bit oilier. Some of the other moisturizers that you've used maybe, didn't feel so great on your face, or, that kind of stuff. So like for me personally, when I first started using moisturizers, I always use a gel moisturizer, because back when I first started using moisturizers, my skin was really, I felt like my skin was oily too. And so I always look for oil-free gel moisturizers. And I thought that you would like particularly the Origins ones, because it has an like orangey smell to it.
Yeah, it's definitely citrusy, and like it feels very fresh.
Mm-hmm,
You know what
mm-hmm.
I mean? And
Yep.
the oily piece is, I also don't like when you put on a moisturizer and you have to wait, and I'm exaggerating, like you have to wait like an hour for it to dry, before you put anything else on. So I really liked, um, I knew that was one of the reasons that you also provided a gel option
Yeah.
for a
It
moisturizer.
absorbs quickly.
Yeah, exactly. The other one was is it Chorus? Is that how you say it?
Oh yeah, Cora's.
Yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
pomegranate pore blurring gel moisturizer. So that was the other one, but I did end up choosing the Origins, and I do really like it. So it's very smooth on my face. It feels so like cooling and refreshing. And I'm not sure if that's just like a party trick, like the like the citrus just makes me feel so like, you know,
Amazing. Like, oh my
yeah.
gosh, smells like oranges.
It's
But
like, yeah, go ahead.
Tempsy, why don't you, because you told me this as like an initial reaction that you I think this is a product that maybe you use too much initially. Like you're
Yes,
like, man, this container's so small. I'm gonna go through this in no time. And you like took out a normal amount that you maybe have used in the past, and you're like, oh wait, that's too much. I don't need that much.
100%. And I was like, oh, well, just because this is a smaller version doesn't mean that it's not going to last a good amount of time because I don't need as much as I, have used in the past or felt that I needed with other products. So that's definitely an important point that I recognized immediately. So all of those concerns when I opened the box and saw how, quote unquote, small the products were started to go away pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like a little goes a long way, right?
Exactly. And it just feels so good. I feel like I'm just this like high maca luxurious person using these super nice products. Like it makes me feel so luxurious.
Yeah, kind of like you're treating yourself, right? And I think
Yeah,
what's funny is that when Tempsy told me her initial thoughts about this too, I was like, now we're like, this is why Shelly buys this stuff.
and I'm a little bit nervous because this might now become a problem for me.
But I mean, sometimes the way that I think about it, not only with skincare, but like some other stuff too. So, like, let's say, for example, I mean, I've had that Origins Ginseng, like the exact same moisturizer. I think I've bought it like once or twice. I mean, at least once, maybe twice, but I feel like it took me like 3 to 4 months to use the whole thing up. So, I mean, I mean, I have bought some other moisturizers from like, the drugstore before that might have been like, $10 or $15, which I immediately did not like and then wanted to throw away after like one or two uses. But also, like, I mean, so to me, I feel like that outweighs the, $10 random spend that's just going to go in the trash, you
Yeah,
know? Yeah.
100%, definitely.
The other product that I thought maybe you might want to consider replacing was your exfoliator. And I recommended two to you. One was a fancy one, Kate Somerville Exfoliate that I had bought before. And literally the thing is like $90 for I think like 2 ounces or something like that. And but I personally really like that one. It can smell a little bit natural. Like if you ever happen to use it in the future, it can smell a little bit natural. I think it could bother some people, but it would make my face feel like so great. It's supposedly like I mean, it is one of like the top selling exfoliating, like quick 2 minute mask situation. Like Kate Somerville is known all over Hollywood and stuff like that. That's not why I'm buying it. It just works really well. But so the other one that I suggested to Tempsy is one called Wishful. And I'm not super duper duper familiar with Wishful. Like I think it's still a newer brand that I'm getting to know better myself. But in reading like the ingredients and what it's supposed to do for you and all that kind of stuff, I felt like it would be something that I would want to use. So anyways, that's why I recommended it to you. And you said you liked it the first time that you tried it as well.
Wait, so you had never used it before?
No.
Oh,
Mm-mm.
interesting. So this is the Yo Glow Facial Enzyme Scrub. And of course, me just rushing and wanting to, I was so excited. I just wanted to use all these products. I just used it as I thought it should be used, based on my, lacking sense or knowledge of skincare products. And I wet my face and just put it on there. And, I could start feeling, layers of skin when I was rubbing my face, but it wasn't too much. But it gave me the sense that I was doing something wrong because I felt, okay, I think the skin, the layers are supposed to do that, but it's not happening everywhere. And it turns out your face needs to be dry, clean and dry before you do this. So I felt like such a ding dong, but I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm going to try it again the next day because I obviously didn't get very much off. And so the next day I washed my face in the shower and then I dried my face and hands before I put it on. And Amen for science, people. I mean, goodness gracious. The scrubs don't, like, it feels, you can tell your skin is a little bit softer with the scrubbies that are in like the St. Ives, right? That I wrongfully was using, um, according to some opinions. But when I did this, I could just, the enzymes, you could tell they were doing their job. There are no scrubbies in this, as far as I can tell. It's just science working away at your skin and getting like, I think I must have had 17 layers of skin that probably needed to come off. I'm not even joking, because I did it one day and my skin felt super good after. But the next time I wore makeup, which, isn't very often lately because I'm not going out as much with everything going on in the world right now, but it felt like things were building up already. And so I did it the next day again because I felt like maybe I need to get to ground zero on my skin before I can really feel like this is something I should be using only 2 times a week. So I did it again, and I obviously, like, I felt like I removed a couple more layers, and then I started using it only twice a week, like every 3 days or every 4 days. And that has been really great. Like, I absolutely love it. It's doing an amazing job. And while I say, like, trying these things is a little bit dangerous for me because maybe I might start being like you and getting all kinds of skin products. But then I realized I'm actually the type of person that once something works, I don't want to change it. And so I'm actually wondering, Shelly, is that something you'd recommend, or does your skin start to get used to stuff and become
Yeah.
not immune, but you know what I'm talking about, right?
Right. Like building tolerance. So one, I mean, first taking a quick step back, if you have sensitive skin, please do not exfoliate every single day or consecutive days. Like I don't think my face would like if I did that. Um, but I think it kind of depends on maybe what someone is using or doing. I think it also kind of depends on the person. So like for me personally, I just like trying a lot of stuff. So it's a little bit rare for me to be consistently using the same thing twice in a row. Like by the time whatever I'm using is empty, I've moved on to a totally different brand with the next thing that I've bought. But it's just because there's a lot of stuff out there that I want to try. But I will say that a lot of times when I am moving on to that next thing, it is pretty similar to the thing that I just finished up. So it's not like totally different. I think it may also depend on like, sorry, but like as we're aging, you know what I mean? Like I
Hmm.
think certain things that used to work for us no longer will. And I think it also depends on how often you're using something if you're going to build that tolerance where it's not going to do something for you anymore.
Right.
Right. So I think it's like a combination of things. I mean, if somebody were to just use it like whatever regular use would be considered, depending on what you're using, um, I think, most times people would probably be okay, you
Well,
know?
the reason that I ask is because I chose the Wishful over the Kate
Exfoliate. Yeah.
Somerville. Yeah, because, of the price. This is my first time really trying out these types of skin products. And I thought, let's just go in a little easy, 1 foot at a time, just get my feet wet. And then if this one works, but maybe doesn't work super well, or I think there's, something even better out there, I'll try the Kate Somerville Exfoliate. But at this point, I feel like it's working so well, maybe I won't need to try the other version. So,
Yeah.
and I know they're not two versions of the same thing, but that's just the reason that I ask is that I
Yeah.
thought if this does work, or if this is something that I want to keep um, experimenting with, and what I
Repurchasing.
mean
Yeah.
is skincare, then maybe I will try, an $85 exfoliant. You know what I mean? But if
Yeah.
not, I might just stick with what I know and what I have based on your suggestions. So that's what I was
Yeah.
wondering.
And yeah, I mean, I think too, like most people probably are using the exact same thing until they feel like it's no longer working for them, right? And then they go and
Yeah.
look for something else. I think, some of the different exfoliating products that I'm trying to try is maybe like a little bit more, this is going to sound scary, but it's like gentle acids where it's not scrubby, kind of like what you said, but enough to just like, take off all the dead skin on your face. I maybe not all the dead skin. That sounds like too severe, but enough dead skin off of your face.
Yeah.
So I mean, like right now I'm using something super gentle, like maybe too gentle. It's like a sugar scrub. So literally water hits it and it dissolves and it really doing anything for that. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna finish this up and move on to something else.
Yeah.
So that one I'm just really careful with. Like I barely put any water on my face, like just a little bit, because yeah, once water gets in there, it's like the sugar's dissolved already. It's like if you put sugar in your like iced tea, right? So
Do you think
anyways.
maybe you don't put any, like you clean your face just like I did with a Yo Glow exfoliator? If you cleaned your face and then dried it and then did it, it might work. It might stay longer.
Um,
I don't know.
I mean, so that actually is how I do all of my exfoliating.
Oh,
I don't know what brought me to that, because it's not something that I read. It's just something I decided I was going to do one day, to be super honest. So that's how I use Exfoliate, or had been, for the past couple of years, and other exfoliators as well. I usually start off with a dry face. So this one I'm doing that too. But a lot of these products for me, if I'm not using it in the shower, I'm not going to use it at all.
yeah.
So that's the only reason why I'm getting some like moisture in there. So
Oh,
even
I
just the
see.
steam of the shower, I'm like, it's melted. um, so yeah.
One question
Mhm.
that I forgot to ask you when we were talking about the moisturizer is, do you put it on your neck?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I put moisturizer on my neck, like the front of my neck, the back of my neck. Some people even put moisturizer like down their chest and everything like that. Like I always wear a regular like t-shirt. Like nothing's ever like too, exposed for myself. So I don't really like do that. But I know there are definitely people out there who do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my chest is often exposed. Not I'm not walking around with slutty outfits on, but I mean, you know, if you're
Like you're at the
some
beach or outside,
or
you're
work
like doing
shirts
stuff.
sometimes come
Yeah.
down to a V, right? So
hmm
it
hmm
happens. But yeah, I was just wanted to um, check
Yep.
on
I
that.
definitely started to, maybe in the last like year or so, like I put sunscreen like on the back of my neck. So when I'm putting sunscreen on my face, I will like automatically, because I tie my hair up a lot, like, and then I'm outside walking the dog. I'm just going to get sunscreen. I'm just going to be tan on the back of my neck and that's it. Like, I don't want that either. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So
And
speaking of
I know
sunscreen,
exactly. I was just going to say.
so the next item is the Supergoop Unseen Sunscreen. This has an SPF of 40. One of the concerns I had about wearing SPF under my makeup was, and I'm not a supermodel, I don't take a lot of pictures, but in the case that I end up wanting to take a picture, I didn't want that ghost face that I had gotten in high school when I used CoverGirl. You know what I mean? CoverGirl, if it had an SPF, I would get this like my skin tone on my face would be completely lighter, a totally different skin tone than my neck or my
The
chest.
rest of you. Yeah.
Yeah, so I really didn't want that because it's just something that really bothered me when I was younger. And so I really appreciated that you thought of that when you recommended this one. And I was a little bit concerned about what the feel would be like, but when I put it on my face, because after that, if you're going out, you're going to put makeup. Like I'm going to put makeup on, right? And so I was a little bit like, okay, how's this going to go? But it went really well. The application is really smooth and it's a little bit it's got this like slight texture, but it's like a smoothing texture. I can't really explain it. And then when I just let it dry while I'm brushing my teeth or something. And this is after I've already put the Origins moisturizer on and let that dry. I'll put this on and let it dry, and then my makeup goes on really smooth. And I don't know if it's because I'm exfoliating or my skin is just more, hydrated. I don't know what it is, but it might be all three. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. So far so good. I mean, I feel like I'm there is one day that I forgot to put it on before I went out and I was like, shucks, I really want to make sure I'm very diligent. And then yesterday we went to the beach. It was like Friday was yesterday and we go on Fridays to the beach and I was like, wait, I had to put on the regular like white sunblock because I was like, he's like, my husband was like, there's really not that much sun out. I was like, it causes aging. I have to put it on. I was like, channeling Shelly, like I have to put it on. So I put sunblock on. Don't worry at the beach. It wasn't the super goop, but at least I had some protection. and now I realize the importance because of the things that you said to me. So there was one day where I forgot to put it on. I put on the moisturizer, but then I, for some reason, forgot to put the sunscreen on. But I'm definitely much more diligent about it, and I will continue using it and see how it goes. But I have definitely seen a difference in my skin. My skin is smoother, softer. The other day, I walked up to my husband and I was like, "Feel my face." Like with the back of your hand. And he's like, "Oh, very nice." I was just, I'm happy, like
Yeah.
it's really nice to have smooth skin. And I know that when my period comes, I'm going to have breakouts and it's just going to happen. But at this point, at least the rest of my skin around the blemishes will be soft and well taken care of. So I'm happy.
Yeah, that's good. And I mean, I think that's like sort of the power of it in some way, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. So if anybody needs recommendations, reach out to Shelly. She'll definitely have to ask you a bunch of questions. So, think about your skin and what you use now and why you use it. And I'm sure she'd be willing to help you out.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be fun. But what we're actually going to do with this episode is something a little bit different. We wanted to go through kind of Tempsy's first impressions and what the first couple of weeks were like for her with using some of these new products. But we actually want to revisit this in maybe like a month or so.
Hmm.
So the second half of this episode will be just that. So we will see you guys in a little bit, I guess.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, we're back. A few weeks have passed since we recorded that first portion of this follow up episode. So, when we had initially recorded what you've already listened to, Tempsy had shared her initial impressions, like first impressions about the products. She used them for a couple of days. And, now that I don't even know how long it has been in between, but a few more weeks have passed, I think she has a better idea now on if these products actually have been helping her, like how it's been. Has she seen any improvements? Does she feel like this is a potentially sustainable, like ongoing part of her routine now? So we thought we would wrap this episode up with some of those thoughts. So I will turn it over to her.
Yeah, so I have had, I think, about a month to regularly use these products, and I feel like my skin is definitely softer for longer periods of time. I know we were talking about how, I always felt like I had to exfoliate my skin because it just never felt exceptionally clean. So now that I've been using these products for a longer period of time, what I also talked about was feeling like I had 17 layers of skin on my face and that I constantly needed to exfoliate with the new product that exfoliant that you provided. And but once I did that a couple of times, I felt like I could go longer in between exfoliating, if that makes sense. I don't know if that has anything to do with the fact that I rarely wear makeup anymore, but I was rarely wearing makeup before I started using the product. And so I feel like it is something that is getting deeper into my skin and really exfoliating thoroughly so that I don't have to keep doing it over and over, if that makes sense, or doing it closer together. So I was thinking, could it be that I'm wearing less makeup? But in all honesty, I was wearing less makeup before I started using it, and I still always felt like I had to exfoliate. And so I feel like this really is a good product that I'm using. I think it's the Wishful exfoliant. And so I really love and am loving how smooth my skin is more often, and that I can go longer periods without exfoliating. And then the moisturizer, the Origins moisturizer, has been so refreshing. And I put it all the way down, on my neck as well. And so I do feel like I'm using or getting through this product a little faster than the rest. I'm using it every morning and night. And so, of course, it's, you're using it pretty regularly. I'm about halfway through. And so, if that's about a month, I'll probably have another month. So that's pretty good. I mean, 2 months and with one product, even though it's a little more expensive than the products that I typically use, I feel like 2 months for $30 is a pretty good outcome. So I'm happy with that, and it's so refreshing, the citrus smell and like the smoothness and the fact that it dries so quickly. I absolutely love it. And I do feel like my skin is a little bit more plump or like, not as dry all the time. So I feel like it's a great product and I'm probably just going to keep using it. I actually really love that the way that the Supergoop uh,
Sunscreen?
sunscreen, yeah, the sunscreen is feels on my skin. And I think what's really great about it is when I do wear makeup, I put, every morning I put the moisturizer and then I put the Supergoop on after the moisturizer dries. Then I let the Supergoop dry a little bit. Well, I let it dry all the way, but it doesn't take that long. It doesn't feel like it anyway. And so then I put my makeup on, and my makeup goes on so smoothly. It just feels really nice. And sometimes when you feel like you have layers of stuff on your face, it doesn't feel as nice when your makeup goes on. It just feels like it's getting caked on with additional layers. It does not feel that way at all. So I really, really like that product. And ever since you kind of mentioned to me that even though I'm inside working all day, that the natural light coming into the window could, bring on aging, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous now. So I put it on almost every morning. I'll be super honest. There are days that I miss the moisturizer and the Supergoop because I'm working at home and sometimes I don't do the normal routine. I try to do it every morning because it sets my day off right, mentally and emotionally. And so knowing that I've taken care of myself first in the morning, is good to, carry out the rest of my day. But there have been a couple times, very few times that I haven't been able to make that happen. But I do make sure, especially if I'm going outside, that I am putting it on. But it's pretty much every day. I think maybe I missed 3 days out of the entire month.
Yeah. And I think just for maybe reference for others out there listening, I did you start working from home in March?
Yes.
Yeah, March. And now we're recording, it's the end of August. So
Mhm.
I almost feel like based on when, you ordered these products and they actually came in, for the majority of the time, you were actually working from home using your old skincare routine. And this
Right.
has maybe been something since July. I think it's been
Hmm.
July to now.
Hmm.
Um, so, I think, that's kind of where you have been using less foundation, like wearing less makeup. And so, I mean, your skin has been taking just a general break, right? But noticing the differences between switching up the products. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's been really good, and I do feel like it's a sustainable process. It's not so many different steps that, it's not something that I can sustain over time. It's, you know, two extra steps every single day than what I normally or previously did, and then an additional step that comes maybe once, max twice a week for the exfoliation. So it's
Yeah. And
not
I
it's
feel
not like
like,
a crazy routine.
right, right. And I feel like that additional step once a week is actually not an additional step. It's a replacement product for a step you're already doing.
That's right. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. So really it's only two additional steps than what I was doing before. And I just feel so good after, number one, knowing that I've kind of taken care of myself and my skin for the day, but also like the feeling that those products give me, or the refreshing feeling of the Origins moisturizer, the citrus smell, like really perks me up in the morning. And so I really love that. And then I'm protecting my skin right after. So I brush my teeth in between just to give extra time for things to set in. But it's been really nice. And the Origins, I feel like, is going a little faster than most, than the three products that you suggested to me. The Wishful exfoliant, I have plenty of that. I think that'll last me probably another 2 to 3 months, depending. And then the Super Goop, I put that on every morning, most mornings, and I feel like it still has plenty because you only need like a pea size of that, and the way that it squeezes out, you
Right.
can truly
Yeah.
tell how much you're using. So I think that one's gonna last
Right. Right.
a while.
No, I think that's kind of fair because if you're using moisturizer more than anything else, it is going to run out faster, right? Like,
Right. Yeah. And the moisturizer, you dip your finger into it. And so I put it on my face and then I'm like kind of figuring it out. Okay, is this enough? And then I'll just grab a little more if I need it. So I'm trying not to go through it, and use what's appropriate, because I think in the beginning I was just putting a little bit too much and it was very damp on my face. And so I was like, I gotta, you know, hang back a
Yeah,
little
scale it
bit,
back. Yeah.
reel it in. So yeah, I think it's been a great experience. I really appreciate your suggestions and kind of making me realize how important it is to take care of my skin along with all of, the rest of your body. Like you really have to take care of your body, especially when you're getting older, like I feel like I am. It's just becoming more and more apparent how important it is to care for yourself, whether it be for yourself or your family or, your future. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Oh, yeah. And I'm glad you're enjoying the product. So that's good.
If any of you out there want any suggestions about skincare, about anything else in that realm or that world, don't hesitate to reach out. You can follow Simple Casual Chic too to see like other things that Shelly talks about. It's important stuff that you just don't think about sometimes. And so I think it's really great that you put yourself out there, do a lot of reviews for things like honest reviews for skincare and even luxury items and stuff. I think it's really great. So check it out. Reach out to Shelly if you have any
Thank
questions.
you.
Yeah, of course.
All right, you guys. Well, thanks for listening to this episode of The Outright Effect. You can find us at theoutrighteffect.com. Follow us on our social media accounts on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, all at The Outright Effect. And you can also reach out to us by emailing us at theoutrighteffect@gmail.com. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.